At 47, I decided to do a bodybuilding show just to challenge myself, to expand my experiences. I went on to compete in numerous competitions, and at 50, I received my pro card, which was my ultimate goal.
When I first heard of Rain Montana, a mother of four, grandmother of six, who decides in her late 40s to get into the best shape of her life to, at age 50, become a professional figure competitor in this super ultra competitive bodybuilding world, I knew I wanted to bring her to you in this week's episode of It's Never Too Late to Live a Life You Love with me, Bettina Gordon-Wayne, because honestly, the idea of getting into the shape of my life now in my 40s and then 50s is exhilarating at the same time as it is frightening to me. So I knew this woman brings a perspective that I wanted to bring to you as well. And then what I discovered in my interview with Rain is that she actually in her early 50s went on a year of yes to discover her feminine essence and to bring the mojo back into the love life with her husband. And I honestly can super relate to that as well, because who hasn't had the evenings where you'd rather go to sleep than have some intimate time with your partner? So connecting to your feminine essence and bringing the mojo back into your life is something that I was super curious to also learn from her, how she did it and how she helps other women to do exactly the same.
I know you are a mom of 4 kids. You have 6 grandchildren, maybe not at the time at
Right.
47 when you started, but what was it that made you think, oh, I need a challenge?
Well, I have been a personal trainer for over 3 decades.
Mhm.
So I've been in the fitness industry for many years. My husband as well is a former competitor and a physical therapist. So we've both been in this very physical, dedicated world. And the truth of the matter is that I was toning up my body even more to have photos taken for my husband. And in so doing, he suggested that I do a figure competition. And ultimately, or initially, I laughed and I thought, no, I can't do that. That's crazy. And then as I began to really think on it, look at a competition, I decided, yes, I'm going to do that.
I am still in awe. I mean, like, okay, so you're a personal trainer, you come from that world, but still, I think it is very inspiring, because for so many of us women, we think that after the age of 40, it's all downhill. We are struggling with menopause or perimenopause, I should say. We, like so many of us say, oh, it's going to be so hard to lose the weight. In general, we gain more weight, the metabolism slows down. Did you have any of that thoughts, or was it just like, okay, so I'm 47, so what?
No, it was definitely difficult because in that bodybuilding world, we reduce our body fat to a subnormal level. So it's not just your healthy walking around body fat. It's a subnormal, which is even more difficult with diet and exercise.
How low is it? What is like an average body fat amount for a woman in the 40s, and where did you get to?
An average healthy body fat for women would be 18 to 21. And
That's
I
an
got
average?
well, the recommended healthy, yes.
So little? I'm getting a heart attack over here because I happen to know mine. What? Really?
Yeah.
18 to 21 is what it's supposed to be?
Yes.
Oh,
And
I'm not telling you mine. I was all gung-ho telling you mine. No, I'm not. I had no idea.
yes and no, because it really matters how we feel. And so we might be more comfortable and feel healthier with a little bit more body fat. Not too much fat, right? Because then we might have some diminishing health issues. But face it, we also want to enjoy life. So maybe we carry 5 pounds more body fat because we can have more fun.
So how low did you go?
Mine was 7%. everything that a competitor eats is weighed and measured and timed. So we eat at certain intervals. I would eat at 2.5 to 3 hours. By the next 2.5, 3 hours, I was hungry because we're eating very, very clean food. We're not eating great amounts. And so our body is just metabolizing it very quickly. I took my food to a movie theater. I took my food to a restaurant. I even took my food to a sit-down wedding, and I let the bride know that I didn't need a meal, but I did need a place setting. So that gives you an idea as to the commitment it takes.
I
Yeah.
think you also make a beautiful point about discipline and commitment in general, because so maybe not too many women here listening to us may want to compete for with getting down to 7%, but I think we all, like we say so many times, oh, when you get older it's harder to lose weight and such, but what it really is a failure by us to adapt to the changes that everybody goes through. And so we complain about, oh, it's not like it was 20 years ago, but for you, like going down to 7% 20 years ago would also have been easier. So my point just is that we need to work with the changes in our bodies and be also disciplined and committed and know, okay, so we can't eat as much anymore as we did previously. We have to move more. We have to just switch out our routine. So that discipline, like you brought your food to a wedding. I don't think I could ever do that. But I mean, this is the focus and the discipline it may take.
It does take. Yes, yes. It does in that world.
You look so fantastic. I have to put my glasses on. What's your current body fat? We don't tell anybody.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't even weigh myself. If I had to guess, it might be 21, 22 even.
Wow.
I just really go by how I feel and how my clothes fit, which is pretty important as well. And because I've been accustomed to eating well and right most of the time, I have an idea of sometimes what I can get away with, right? Because sometimes I want to splurge, I want to eat bad, and then I know that I need to short up a little bit. So I really think that that's a healthier way to be in life, to allow ourselves a little wiggle room and then eat right the vast majority of the time.
I agree. I like to do that too, but I am far away from the 21% of body fat. When you were 50 and you got your pro card to now in the last 6 years, do you see changes in your body? Have you kept up with the regimen? I mean, not the 7% body fat, but how has it been ever since you went pro?
What would I say? Kind of wind and weaved through what is my healthy norm now. So I don't train at that level now. I still do strength train. I'm adding yoga in my life. And then I also have added S Factor and Live Femme, which are other feminine movement practices. So I feel for me in this period of my life, I want the variety and I want to access my feminine essence. The bodybuilding world is a very masculine, hard, chiseled world. And now my emphasis and my focus is on health and beauty within and my feminine essence.
You told me that you had a year of yes when you were 53 years old. And I think that was a pivotal time for you to do what you're doing today. How did the year of yes come about?
Over the years, I had slowly shut down some of my emotions, some of my feminine essence, just parts of me. We live in a very masculine world, and being a trainer and in a gym, it is masculine. And I'm speaking more about the energies, masculine energy and feminine energy. It's not the same when we dress up and look pretty. That's not the definition of femininity or feminine energy.
What is your
So
definition of feminine energy?
feminine energy is more the flow, the movement. If you imagine the feminine energy a river and the masculine energy the river bank, we need both in our lives. Ideally, we want to be able to access either one at any time. Back to my story at my year of yes at 53, I had had a lot of parts shut down. I did that. And I took on the messages of the world that I'm too old, fix my wrinkles, fix my gray roots, get rid of your cellulite, what's wrong with you? Everything, everywhere we look and everything we read is telling women that they're broken, that something's wrong and you need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that the only women that matter are the young and the beautiful.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So taking on all of those messages and living in a very masculine world, I was sort of dying inside. So I set out on my year of yes. My first stop, if you will, was in New York City at Mama Gina's, Regina Thomas Shore. And there I learned a lot about our bodies and being true to ourselves and learning about my desires and my wants and what are they? Because sometimes when we're shut down, we don't really know what we want.
I find this fascinating because so many other women say, okay, it's menopause, it's over. And you are like, no, this is the start.
No. And I have to say too, that I'm very blessed that my husband supported me in this.
I wanted to ask you that. Yes. Where was your husband in this? Yeah.
He was very supportive. And I just want to do a side note here that if people choose to do a year of yes, it doesn't have to take them far away and it doesn't have to cost money, excuse me. A year of yes can be choosing to do things differently. It can be choosing practices. It can be, there's so many other things. So my message is that anybody can have a year of yes, and it can look a lot of different ways.
So during her year of yes, Rain connected to powerful women like Mama Gina, like Bernadette Pleasant, or Sheila Kelly, who all helped her to connect to her body and awaken that feminine essence that she's talking about. And the last step may have been the one that really brought it all together for her.
So my last stop on my, well, it's actually a little more than a year of yes, was with Jaya Ma and Ian Ferguson, the Erotic Blueprints. We initially went to a Path to Passion event in LA. Mm-hmm. And began to learn about the Erotic Blueprints. And the easiest way for me to describe them is to ask if people are familiar with the 5 love languages. And most people will have at least heard of them, even if they don't necessarily know. So Erotic Blueprints is your sex language and how we want love, how we want sex, how we desire it, and also teaching how to give to a partner if we have a partner. It's just huge. Once you have a language and you realize that maybe your partner isn't stupid or unobservant or they don't care or all they want is sex or all of the messages that we may say in our heads. Yeah. It's really that they have a different language and there's no right or wrong. So that was life-changing as well.
Yeah, please. I would like to talk a little bit more about that.
Yes.
So I'm usually a little squeamish to talk about sex, but I'm getting over that right now. To put this into context of the 5 love languages. So there's this book that's called The 5 Love Languages. And the basis is that we express our love in certain ways and we receive love the most in certain ways. Right. Like for some people, it is words of affirmation, like from my husband. If I praise him for what he's doing, he feels loved. That is one of them. For other people, it may be a gift. So if you give them a gift, they feel really, really loved. Yes. If you tell them, hey, you did a great job, it may not mean a thing.
Right. Right.
Then there are three more. Do you know the other three more?
Yes, time. Time is one. Let's see, you said words of affirmation, gifts, acts of
Gifts,
service,
acts of service. What would that be?
doing things for one another.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Okay, and time, just giving them time, spending time
Time.
together.
Mhm.
And there's a fifth one.
There is a fifth one. What is it?
I don't know right now, but I find this so that this is really, really true. Like if for me, it is time, spending quality time together.
Mhm.
And I feel loved when my husband spends quality time with me
Mhm.
more than a gift. It doesn't mean as much than that. And there is something similar when it
Yes,
comes to sex. Fascinating. Please.
similar but different.
Yes. Yes.
So I'll share with you the 5 sex languages, if you will.
Please. Yes.
Yeah. So the first one is energetic, and they like teasing, like they like space, they like anticipation. Their touch, they might prefer light hovering touch, maybe not even touch, just hovering. So that's an energetic primarily. A
It's like
sensual,
playful seduction, more okay.
the anticipation, the longing. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes. A sensual blueprint is about all of your senses. Let's try that.
You sound like me. Like, English is a second language. I have an excuse.
Oh, right. And I saw one of your videos. You actually have 3 languages, right?
Yes, I do. German, my first one,
Yep,
English, and English. That's when I make up the
that's
words,
right.
as my husband always says. Yes, thank
That's right.
you.
Fantastic. So a sensual, if you imagine all of the senses, it's about ambiance, it's about smell, taste, sound, music that is appealing to them. So those things are important to a sensual. Then we have a kinky. And the thing that people understand about that word is it's a spectrum, like everything. Kinky can just be anything that's out of your norm. It doesn't have to be, and it can be the
Mhm.
furthest thing that you can think about,
Okay.
right? But that's not really only what kinky is.
And also, I think you're making a point. It can be out of the norm, whatever the norm is for the person.
Right. Exactly. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Thank
Right.
you.
And then we have the sexual. And the sexual just wants intercourse. It's about the genitals. It's about nudity. They just want to know they're going to get their orgasm.
Interesting.
And
Yes.
then the last one is the shapeshifter. And the shapeshifter likes it all. And sometimes they like it all at the same time. But you can see, just hearing these very brief definitions,
Mm-hmm.
how relationships can be so confusing, and how we think wrongly maybe of our partner because we just don't understand the language, and
Yes.
they don't understand our language.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And also, I think that most likely many women struggle a bit or can relate. Like, I'm married now for 13 years. And there are evenings I much rather prefer my good night's sleep than having sex. I think,
Right,
it's like, who cannot relate to this sentence?
right.
Very few people.
Yes.
Hopefully my husband never listens to this interview.
Or if he learns the blueprint languages, then he might.
Then yes,
Right.
yeah. But I think because if we don't know these languages, it sets us up for being less often intimate than we could.
Yes.
Do you have, because you went through all this training, also, for example, a little starter kit idea, like how to bring more passion into a relationship when you have to deal with kids and career and house and so on?
Yes, I actually do a passionate possibilities call, and on the intake form, I ask quite a few questions so that during our 60-minute call, I can be very focused and almost laser focused. And we talk about maybe some of the blocks. What does someone really desire, what isn't working right now, what do they want more of. So in that passionate possibilities call, we dive into all of that, and from there I create a program for the person, specific to their needs and desires.
Specific to their needs.
Mhm.
And you're giving our audience the chance to have a phone call with you.
Complimentary, yes, a
Complimentary.
complimentary
Yes. Yes.
possibilities
Thank
call.
you.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
hypothetically, somebody who is a mother of a 5-year-old.
Yes. Who would that be?
I have no idea. Hypothetically, but is there like aren't there like similarities for most of the women that we can just pinpoint to one or two topics where you can say, okay, this is something that's a recurring theme for many of the women, to just be maybe less burdened with everyday life, so have more space in our
Yes.
psyche? Please.
Yes. I think it all starts with self-care. Typically, as women, we're really good about taking care of everybody else.
Yes.
And often we're last on the list, and usually fatigue is so huge that we don't even make it to the list. So everything needs to start with self-care, whatever that is. It can be many, many things. It could be a bubble bath. It could be reading for 20 minutes. It could be listening to music. It doesn't, again, it doesn't have to cost money. It can cost money, but I really think it's important for women to know that it's a span. There's so many important things. Once we begin to care for ourselves, we come from a place where we have more to give and it's easier. But until we choose us, I feel like we will always struggle.
I mean, I feel that I do take care of my health and I go
Mhm.
for my walks daily and such. And yet, I don't know if it ignites the spark. But it was
No,
one way. There are more, right?
absolutely. And it's really about tapping into our essence. So I can eat right, I can exercise, I can read a book, and sometimes I feel like I have to do that, right? I look at it more like, I don't really want to do it, I have to do that
Do it.
to maintain whatever. So the things that feed my soul and bring out that essence in me is dancing, is S Factor, is Femme, is the Erotic Blueprints. It's also doing some of the exercises from Mama Gina. Those things that tap into our feminine essence is what will feed us. Everything else I feel is sort of exterior, but
Yes.
that is changing our soul and our heart and waking up our desires, because so often as women we lose our desire for one reason or another,
Yes.
and sometimes we think we're broken. What's wrong with us?
Yeah, my libido went on a walk
Yeah,
and has not returned. Yeah.
and it hasn't come back.
Yeah.
And so often, sometimes there can be medical or chemical problems,
Yeah.
but very oftentimes it's because we've left ourselves and we aren't feeding ourselves. We just don't know how. We don't hear those messages. We hear what exercise to do. We hear how to eat. We hear what creams and lotions and things to use, but we really don't hear about how to tap into our essence.
Yes, I think that is the point that you're making that is true for me, because I can take 100 bubble bath and it doesn't make a difference.
Right.
If I don't tap into what I feel is me as a woman, it doesn't have the same effect. You know, bubble bath or whatever, it does not do much. But yes,
Right.
that part I understand very much. And you find it mostly through movement, through dance,
I
through
I find it most through movement. I think it's a component for all women, movement.
yes.
But one thing may speak greater than another thing. Um, but it's also learning about our body voice. So not our speaking voice, but our body voice.
What is that?
How does our body want to move? How do we want to move the energy? How do we want to express ourselves? Because if we are rigid, if you will, and I use that word loosely because, okay, we exercise, we move, we walk, so not rigid in that way, but rigid as far as if you think of a river, right? If you think of a river, that's our essence. That's the feminine essence. But when we hang out in our masculine energy, that's what shuts down our feminine energy.
So how do you wake it up again?
The Erotic Blueprints is a start because we, by nature, are sensual and sexual beings. And once we find out our own language, then we can begin to learn our desires. And then we know what turns us on and what turns us off, not only in sex, but in life. So I think it starts there, because if we're not tapping into that core of who we are, we're just sort of fixing things from the outside down rather than start at the core and move out.
So you would start actually with sexuality, huh?
I would.
What if you don't have a partner? Same thing.
You don't need a partner.
Okay.
See, what some people think is they should wait until they have a partner. But what if you get a partner and you still don't know your desires? You still don't know your wants, your turn-ons. You don't know your language. Then you'll have two people that don't know, right? Instead of at least one that knows, that can maybe share and influence with the other, and maybe bring that one on the journey to grow the relationship, or maybe the relationship is just a short term. But really it's about that, because when we can speak that, then we have more, I hesitate to say power, but we have more power over what we want.
And when it comes to sexuality, I think there's also something to be said. You need to do it in order to get into it again.
That's true.
If you just live with your partner for too long and just, you lose, what is it? You don't use it, you lose it or something.
Use it or lose it.
Yes. Yeah.
I think it's true. And that's why all of these practices that I've studied in and incorporate, they all are important, and they all bring a different aspect
to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. The movement, the emotion, the feminine work, the sexual work, it's all under the umbrella of what I do and how I help women.
Well, thank you so much for bringing so much joy and passion into this world.
Thank you. Thank
you.
It
was a pleasure having you today, Rain. Thank you so much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you.